One time when my dad and I were riding our bikes and a cicada landed on his shoulder and it was magical and he was like Cinderella, so I tried to take a picture of it while my bike was moving and I almost rode off the trail into a ditch.
Welcome back to Can You Not? Wouldn't it be great if we had like a live audience and they could say it with me? Like,
no.
Welcome back to
Can You Not?
I disagree with
That's
this.
my dream. We should have a live studio audience.
Next time we do a live, we could get Now That's Class to do it with us.
Oh,
I'm
that's
sure.
right. We do want to do more live shows coming up, so stay tuned, Cleve fam.
Did you just say cleave?
Cleve fam.
It's clee.
Cleve fam.
Cleave.
Cleave.
Fam.
Like a cleaver.
Yeah, or cleavage, which is what I have, and I'm going to show off to our audience. So if you come early, you'll get to see that special offer.
Joe.
So last week we talked a lot about protests, and we were like, we probably
And then
still
we
have
talked-
a lot to say.
We talked for another 3 hours.
Yeah,
yeah.
we really talked for 3
Like
hours.
for 3 hours.
So we're like, let's do another episodes about protests. So this is like kind of our first two-parter in a way.
Part 2.
And you only had to wait a week for it. Yeah, isn't that great? There was a protest at UC Berkeley because Milo Yiannopoulos, a noted white supremacist, was supposed to give a speech there. And people were like, nuh-uh. So they protested and they set fire to things. Some of them did.
They destroyed.
Turn Trump was like, I'll take away your federal funding. Whoop-a-doop-a-doo if you do that again. You're trying to suppress free speech. So I guess I just wanted to propose to you both
Burning
to marry me. No. To propose to you both. At what point?
Amber's face.
At what point is it taking away free speech? And at what point, and should the government interfere with funding based upon free
You know what I
speech at all?
think? I think they weren't taking away free speech. He still could have said whatever he wanted, just knowing that those were the consequences for
True.
what he was saying.
I think free speech
But
stops at property damage.
Yeah, it's tough because I want to be like, because I've gotten into arguments with people about this before, and I'm like, I feel like the looting and the raiding and stuff, I feel like that's when people don't take you seriously anymore, and I feel like that's when it hurts the cause. But I do know, like, some people have tried to justify it, and they're like, you haven't actually been out there when it was needed. Like, sometimes that's the only way to get to people, and sometimes, like, that's what you gotta do, and I'm like, I don't know, though. Maybe I'm being kind of conservative or moderate about this. I just feel like there's a certain point where damaging other people's property doesn't help anything, and some people
I think you got to know what you got to damage the right property for those that are out. Because there's part of me that's the inner Malcolm X that's kind of like they aren't gonna listen if shit's not burning, you know.
Right.
But then there's part of me that's like, we don't want to be looked down upon, and that's what they do. They either they're scared by it and it makes them think twice or pay more attention, or they just look at you and say, you're primitive, get out of my face, your opinion means nothing.
Yeah, I feel like I still stand firmly by once you start breaking stuff, that's when people are allowed to intervene because you are breaking stuff that's not yours. And it's bad. But at the same time, that rioting, in a sense, right? Yeah. I'm going to call breaking stuff / hurting people rioting at that point. Rioting is a symptom of something. If people are angry enough, generally, not all the time, but like if people are angry enough that they're out on the streets and it gets violent, that means that there's probably some really, really bad stuff going on, and that stuff needs to be addressed. It's not cool that they're out doing it, and it shouldn't be the end goal. Like if you're like, I want to protest Trump, I'm gonna set everything on fire. That's not how you do it, and that's how you that's very negative. But I do feel like it should be looked into. But also the other thing too is that I was reading an article today that Christina Hoff Sommers posted, which we were talking about her.
Yeah.
Because she is the conservative person who I follow on Twitter. But it was an article about how you can protest something, but you can't stop somebody from speaking. That includes the really, really racist people. That includes the people who have opinions that you don't agree with and that are damaging, because that's part of free speech. Like, free speech at gunpoint is not free speech, right?
Yeah.
So protesting outside of this guy's thing is fine, but I feel like in general people need to recognize that this is part of it. If you want free speech, this is part of it.
Yeah.
Like, this comes with the deal. You can't want to be able to say what you want and then tell somebody else that they can't also do that.
Yeah.
Right.
I can understand why they did it, because, like, especially, I mean, because I'm one of those people that says, like, I don't think people should be shut down for having an opinion. Like, even if it's a dumb opinion, they should be allowed to voice it, you know? And so people will be like, you know, maybe some people will give, like, a right-wing opinion, and they'll try to shut them down, and I'm like, that's not okay. Like, we need to be able to hear these opinions, and if you're afraid of opinions, that's not good for where things are going. You know, like, because that's when I do see, like, the arguments about, like, crybaby liberals and snowflakes and stuff, is when it gets to a point where you're literally unwilling to even hear an opposing side. That's when it draws the line. So this one's a really tough one for me, because I think, like, everyone has the right to be heard. I think that's important. But if the thing the person says, you know what their agenda is, and it's a very strict white supremacist, like, we hate this, this, and this, is that the point to draw the line, or do they still have the right, or does the school still have the right to pay these people to come in and spread this bullshit, you know?
Oh, was he a paid speaker?
Yeah, he was paid, and they dropped, when they found out the protesting and stuff, the school dropped him and they didn't pay him, so...
I'm interested in, I'm sure it was an organization within the school paid to have him come in, so I'm interested in, like, you could say the school paid for it, but I'm interested in who actually paid for it. Because, again, if it's, like, the Republican club thing on campus and they wanted to hear him speak, if they raised the money, they could do whatever they want.
Without representing the school directly.
Right, like... we have those crazy communist people at Cleveland State. Yeah. I'm not a crazy communist person. But, yeah, I don't know. It's annoying. Riots are annoying because they give the people opposing the views of the people who are rioting / protesting. They give the opposition really easy, ammunition against the movement as a whole.
That's the tough part.
But then, I don't know. Part of me is like, I'm very conflicted when it comes to the things like rioting and stuff, because I look at stuff like after Martin Luther King died and all the rioting that happened, even here in Cleveland, that turned a lot of heads. People were like, these black people ain't playing, you know?
Yeah.
And like I've said on multiple occasions, Martin Luther King would have been nothing without the Malcolm X's or the Marcus Garveys. Or, you know what I mean? Although that's a different time frame, but you get what I'm saying. There's a lot of different arguments, and you have to hear all these opinions. And those people that are out rioting, that's how they show their anger, their frustration. That is their opinion. This is what I think, and this is how I'm going to show it. You want me to stop? This is how you do that. Right. Fix it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rioting is what, well, I'll get into that later, kind of, but if you go back to when there were labor struggles within the United States, that was what turned a lot of heads. You go burn down the factory you used to work at. Now what?
You go in and shoot the boss. Like,
right.
Yeah.
The big problem here is that, okay, I'm angry at abortion rights or whatever, women's rights. Let's go burn down this McDonald's because I'm angry about women's rights. You know what I mean?
It's directionless.
It's not aimed at any one particular. It's like you get angry, let's go burn everything. And especially when it's happening, like, okay, if I'm angry about the miseducation in our community, right? And there's no point to me rioting in my community and tearing up everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get you being angry, but you tearing up everything isn't going to make your school board go, I guess we should educate the kids.
Another thing, too, is that if you look at the, like, after pictures of after the stuff that happened at Berkeley, there really isn't a lot of damage. Like, a bunch of people are focusing on, like, I guess there's an Amazon store and something happened and I don't know if there was property damage, but that store was literally open the next day. Like the trees, there was a tree in one of the pictures of one of the fires and the tree is still there. It's a little charred, but it's fine. Like it's really not. Yeah. I feel like it was skewed really hard too.
Well, no, maybe that was off
and I'm just talking about the damage. Like there might have been like maybe like a vehicle or something, but like on campus, like the buildings and things that were left over were still fine.
No, Brian, forgive me if I'm wrong, but your preferred form of protest is to run your apocalypse school bus into storefront windows, right?
I'm just going to crash my apocalypse school bus wherever I see fit.
Really fast before I run out of time, another thing that I was thinking about, too, that I actually just thought of just now is when people are in a conversation I had with somebody talking about protests. I don't remember what they were protesting anymore. It was a while ago. But she was like, I don't get the point. Like, they're stupid. They're not doing anything. And as soon as somebody gets in my way and stops my commute, I'm immediately against them. I don't care what they're protesting. If they get in my way, I'm mad at them. And I don't support what they're protesting against anymore. Yeah. But a lot of times that's kind of the point of the protest, is to disrupt what you're doing and
make you focus on that.
It's almost metaphorical. Like, this is holding you back. Why don't you look at what's holding us back right now, kind of thing. Right. And I was just thinking about where the line goes from, getting in the way of somebody's commute. And then there's like the sliding meter that goes up to setting McDonald's on fire and like where it becomes not okay.
Yeah. I could argue, like, what if someone is actually for the cause and gets stuck in the community?
It's like, haha, now my
then they're like, woo!
Your problem.
No, then it's like, fuck, I'm going to be late to work, I'll get fired.
Oh, no.
Now my
and I support Black Lives.
What do I do?
Do I run over these black people in the way?
No, that's never what you do. This is actually about a conversation that I was having with Shelby last week, post-podcast, and all the crazy stuff you guys didn't hear about. You guys as in the people listening.
Hello.
Not trying to qualify you with the term guys. Anyway,
you people.
Y'all.
No,
you folks.
Fam. Okay, so Joe read this big long thing. It was a Twitter thread, and it was about what's the right word? Indigenous woman telling her story about how she felt about the Women's March and how she felt like it was a very toxic environment and white women were being terrible because they were doing, I think it was a prayer circle, like it was a big group of Indigenous women doing a prayer circle and doing their thing with the prayer circle, and then like white women were coming in and being like, I'm Indian too, and it was bad. But what I started thinking about at that point in time, just to recap this conversation, was like, I feel like I know people who are very good-hearted who would make a mistake like that and say something ignorant without meaning to. Because, and in this thread, the Indigenous woman who is narrating, I suppose, said that she was surrounded by white supremacy. And the examples were things like these white women like trying to get into their circle, or like saying, I'm an Indian for a day and then not backing off when they were corrected and that kind of thing. And I thought white supremacy for that felt a little strong, which is why I brought it up, because I can't imagine some people who I think are mostly in the, like, their heart's in the right place, just being ignorant and saying something silly. And then Shelby and I started talking about it, and Shelby, you could say things if you want, but what I understood, most of what Shelby said. Please welcome
to the show, Shelby.
But what I understood, most of what she said is something that I've heard before, and she reminded me, is that there's a certain point where you can't keep saying the same thing over and over again to the same group of people, like, and it stops being like a gentle tap on the wrist, and it starts being like, aren't you listening to me? And then
it starts being I don't care anymore. Like, it starts being like, I told you this already. Yeah, it's kind of like, I told you this already. We told you this for so long. Now you're gonna get a reaction out of us that you don't like. Mm-hmm. And that's when the whole stereotype of black women being angry and black people are so violent, and you know what I mean, or indigenous people, like stuff like that. But it's like, somebody's only going to tell you something for so long until they're just like, all right.
It's off.
Yeah, now it's like, okay.
So
here's it, yeah.
So, I was just thinking about that because, like, that's something, like I said, like, a lot of people have said that. Like, that's a thing people speak about, you know, because it's common. And that, like, didn't occur to me in that context, and Shelby reminded me, and that was pretty cool. So I've been thinking about it, and it occurred to me that if there's a well-meaning person doing something ignorant, and I was trying to think, how do you fix this if, like, you know, one party is stupid and the other party is really mad and nobody's getting along. And it occurred to me that the easiest way to fix it is for the other white women to look at the first white woman and go, hey, like, what are you doing? So I guess, like, that's kind of the conclusion I came to, is we need to fix people around us when they do stupid things. So the apex of this, I guess, is I am just interested in your opinions about allyship. And that was, like, the single conclusion I was able to come to this week, and I guess I'm interested in your opinions or your thoughts about, like, really bad or really good ways that people can try and support the ones around them who need it.
I personally feel like as the person in the minority situation, though we've been in these situations a million times where we have to remind people or tell people, you can't do that, you can't say that, you know what I mean? We have to realize that, for one, the person that often we're speaking to is someone that's on our side, and in the sense that, like, they aren't intentionally trying to hurt us. And yes, it gets very frustrating, but you're never, it's very rare that you're gonna have to tell that same person that multiple times. You know what I mean? It's usually someone new that's saying something that's offensive that they don't know is offensive. It's someone new that does something that's off-putting, but they don't understand that it's off-putting. Because when we had that conversation the other day, I could see, even in you guys' faces, looking back and going, wow, have I done something to Brian or Shelby that, like, or even Jesse, that's like, well, I shouldn't have said that, I shouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? Like, you often don't have to remind them after that. Like, I actually just saw an episode of Grey's Anatomy the other day where one of the main characters was asking one of the black female characters, like, is it really a thing, like, in your everyday life? Like, all the time being black is, like, always a factor in how people treat you? And she's like, yeah. And then she explained to her certain things that go on, and from that point on, she understood, like, okay, this is just something I have to think about before I act. Like, think hard about what I'm going to say. So you have to understand that that's going to happen from our standpoint. Now, from the other side, once you've heard it, once you've received that message, this is where the line is drawn. This is what I can do. This is what I can't do. You have to relay that to the people that will never hear that from another person of color, indigenous person, a man that's never going to hear that from a woman, that you can't do or say that. You have to be the person that tells other people, so that they don't go into a situation and do something or say something that's going to rub somebody the wrong way. You know what I mean? And most people aren't doing that. That's just a simple fact. Like we even talked the other day about my friends Lauren and Tori, and how I have this conversation with them all the time about certain things that they can or can't do. I mean, obviously it doesn't happen all the time where they do stuff like that, but in their lives, because one goes to BG and one goes to Marietta, I doubt that often they sit down and tell all of their other Caucasian friends, hey, did you know I have a black friend and he told me we can't do that? You know what I mean? Like, that's not a thing that, so you have to think of a way to relay that to people. Or if, say, you're out with some people, or you're out with people and they do something, you be that person to correct them. and explain to them why, the same way it was explained to you. You know what I mean? We talked about like white people that want to support the Black Lives Matter movement, but when you go there, you don't feel welcome because you don't feel like it's like, you know what I mean? Like if black people aren't accepting you, then it's hard to like fight for them. You know what I mean? In the sense, like we talked about things like what else? I can't remember.
We talked about a lot of stuff.
We talked about a lot.
I try to be a good ally by breaking down racial boundaries through using the N-word as much as I can. I feel like that's really
Joe.
Now, I will say though, like it can be hard, and when I find myself in those situations, and I'm trying to always continually get better at it, oftentimes I don't fix things not because I don't think I'm brave enough to, but sometimes I don't even catch it because sometimes, especially within like a lot of white communities, sometimes it's so like ingrained or so subtle that I don't even think about it until like 3 minutes later. I'm going like, wait a second, I can't believe they said that, and I actually think about that wasn't right, and then it feels weird to bring it up. And sometimes I do, and sometimes if the conversation is really moved, but I'm trying to get better about calling it out when it actually happens and and maybe more importantly, recognizing it when it happens so I can actually do something, because that's something I gotta continually work on. That's something I gotta get better at.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know. I'm really glad that I'm able to have these conversations, like in general, because I'd much rather make mistakes around people who I'm friends with and be corrected than like make somebody really, really angry.
Right, that was one of the points that we made. If as a person of color, you have to correct those people that you are not going to punch in the face, because if you don't, they're going to say something to someone that will punch them in the face.
Right. But no, I don't know. That's a thing that I think about a lot, actually, because there are things, and I feel like this is one of the big problems with a lot of people who we tend to refer to as the uneducated South, like all the farmer people. It's just that if you're not corrected, you're not gonna learn. Like if you keep making the same mistakes and it's like common and nobody corrects you, then you're not gonna learn. And I appreciate the opportunity to make mistakes with people, I guess. I don't, because because now it's easier for me to catch myself when I do things. Because sometimes it's just like, ooh, that was not the correct thing to think to myself to say, and I'm really glad I didn't say it. Because I've been able to have these conversations and like can channel that, I guess.
I agree. I think it helps a lot. It helps me anyway. So maybe it'll help you too, listeners. You know what might also help you? If you tried on some Warby Parker glasses. Warby Parker is our sponsor today. You can try 5 pairs of glasses for free with Warby Parker. Let me explain how this works, because you might be going...
How does it work, Joe?
No one asked you. Oh. So.
I was trying to be improvisational.
Yeah. Wait, do it one more time. We'll scrap it. Okay. I
hope this all makes it.
So here's the scene. We're inside a dark cavern. The moon is high in the sky.
We're in a cavern.
Yeah, we're in a cavern. But we're at the edge of the cavern.
Oh, it's a cave?
Yeah, it's a cave, it's a cove, there's a lake outside, the stars are sparkling, and there's a fire, and it's 20 of us, and we're all
and everything's on fire!
Everything's on fire! So now that you know what's going on in the scene, let's see if we can go into this. So I walk into the cave.
And you can't see anything.
And I can't see anything except for splotches.
Are we doing Plato's Closet?
Yeah.
Okay, that's your line, Amber.
What?
That's your line.
Which one?
Something about Warby Parker.
Warby Parker!
Warby Parker, you say? Hello, I cannot see. I'm a person who cannot see. And
Joe, try these Warby Parker glasses.
Oh my god, but how do I try them on, Amber?
You put them on your face.
Do I pick 5 frames?
Yes.
And have it mailed to me?
To the cave, yes.
Is it to the cave? And then I'll try them on, and then
somehow see how they look in the cave at night.
There's reflective water.
It's nighttime.
It's nighttime.
The glasses are gonna fall off into the lake.
so I can return them, because I need to return the ones I don't get.
The mermaids
and I'll buy the one that I like.
You'll take the ones.
And within 5 days, the whole process will be over.
You'll be starving to death because you're still in the cave.
But I'll have my Warby Parker glasses.
This is the best ad we've ever done.
And Brian, your line.
Brian's just gonna come into the cave
Meanwhile,
with some McDonald's.
Brian runs up to the cave with McDonald's for all the people on fire.
But I have Big Mac.
So if you want to try your Big Mac today, you can go to www.mcdonalds.com/.
You're welcome, McDonald's.
You can try 5 pairs of glasses for free with Warby Parker. That's warbyparkertrial.com/can you not for all of our listeners.
That was
Don't let this terrible ad deter you.
That was a magical experience. I want that animated. I want to see that go down.
Wait, how does the scene end? I think we need to end the scene.
With Big Macs.
Big Macs?
With you wearing Big Macs as glasses.
So nothing happens.
We have to jump in the lake.
We just die.
Everything continues to be
We all jump in the lake.
Oh, that's evading the fire.
And eat soggy Big Macs.
Soggy Big Macs is going to be the album I drop.
Can Soggy Big Macs be the name of our podcast now?
Soggy Big Mac should be the theme of the photo shoot.
Yes.
It's just us looking sad with these dripping wet burgers.
We should do that. Let's just go to Lake Erie and jump in with Big Mac.
I have amazing news. SoggyBigMacs.com is not taken yet.
Oh my God.
We need to move on.
Well, one of the ideas that I had was to talk about another thing that we talked about the other day, which was white people with dreads. Because I have a huge problem after doing some more research on the topic.
Like in the past week?
Yes. With some people that have been like super duper protesting white people with dreads. For one, dreads are literally the oldest hairstyle ever. Like, locks are literally the oldest hairstyle in every culture. Like,
even older than the beehive.
Literally every culture. Which means that it's a part of all of our culture. It means different things in different people's cultures, but we have no right. Well, first of all, the idea that by someone appropriating your culture, that they are taking away your culture. You know what I mean? Just because someone is doing something and claiming that it's their own doesn't mean that it is theirs.
Right.
For one. For two...
Wait, so you're saying that because someone is appropriating someone's culture, we shouldn't worry about it?
No, I'm not saying it's not anything to worry about. I'm saying it's a separate issue from the dreadlock issue.
He's saying correct me if I'm wrong. I think you're saying that people who appropriate cultures can't just claim it as their own, is basically what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm saying, well, for one, I'm saying that you shouldn't feel threatened by, I don't know how to explain.
Okay, I think I understand.
I don't think you should feel threatened within yourself because someone else is trying to be you.
Somebody else is doing it wrong, but that doesn't take away from your experience within it. Okay.
That.
Yeah.
For part two of this.
Part two and part two.
Those people that understand what it means to wear locks should not be upset, at least within black culture, should not be upset with white people that wear locks in respect for African or black culture. Because within our culture, it just represents strength and knowledge. Mm-hmm. White people can have strength and knowledge too. This is a message for all of you.
Despite my representation.
Yes. It is okay to educate people. It is not okay to harass them. I'm specifically speaking about a video that I saw where an African American woman was like grabbing and pushing on a white guy that had locks, and he was trying to get to a class or something, and she wouldn't let him walk away.
I've seen that, yeah.
And that just really irritated me. She was trying to tell him, like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that with your hair. And the guy seemed to know what he was talking about in terms of this came from Egyptian culture, what I'm representing, and this is what I represent. I'm not trying to steal your culture. This is what I like to do.
Interesting.
And when you do that, it's kind of like when we were talking about people that mean well. It's really hard to, like, for people to get on board with what you're trying to do when you try to push them away at every turn. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, a lot of times black people will get mad at white people for rapping or liking rap, but then we get mad if they get mad at, if, like, that our rap culture, our hip hop culture isn't accepted. You know what I mean? You get mad at the ones that do accept it, and then you get mad at the ones that don't accept it. Where's the line? Like, what do you...
Well, it's not the whole thing of them being mad that white people have accepted it. It's the fact that it's them being mad that
they're rewarded for it. I get that, but does it really matter if honestly, it's irritating that J. Cole didn't win and Macklemore did win all these hip hop awards. Yes, it's very irritating. But in the hip hop community, who's held higher, J. Cole or Macklemore? You know what I mean? Does it really matter that much that these people that don't know hip hop that well are rewarding something? Like, this isn't hip hop rewarding hip hop. This is the mainstream media rewarding this artist specifically. You know what I mean?
I don't know how to explain it because it's different I feel like it's different when it's your craft. Like, you can say that, but you're not a rapper. You're not J. Cole. You're not the one who was told that J. Cole, like, it's considered one of the best rappers out here right now.
Yeah.
But to have someone who isn't even considered to be on the totem pole of rap to win an award like that, that's like a slap in the face. That's like that's like, I want to go into medicine. And that's like me,
but what I'm saying is, it's a slap in the face if all of hip hop is looking at that as this is the only way. Like, nobody in hip hop was winning a Billboard.
But it doesn't matter, though. I mean? It's not even that it's in hip hop. It's the stage. It's everybody in general.
Okay, so put it this way.
It's the whole world saying, okay, Macklemore, to the whole world, everybody who's watching that thing, Macklemore was, I didn't even see the award show, so I don't even know what he won. But from what you're saying, it's like the whole world saying, Macklemore is the best at this. This is why he got this award, because he's the best at this. Even though people who listen to J. Cole, people who listen to all the other rappers know that is not true. To everybody else looking in on it who do not have the knowledge of about hip-hop, who do not know who J. Cole is, who do not know these things, to them, it's like, them, he's the best. But we know he's not, but they don't know that. And that's everyone else. And that's the larger audience.
Okay. Amber, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, I think that one of the biggest problems with appropriation isn't that people take something and use it. It's that they take something and then profit off of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but...
because what I was thinking about was... there's a website I really like called Beyond Buckskin, and I think it's Cherokee, but I could be totally wrong. But they're native artists. They're Native American artists. They're indigenous artists who they just create things within the realm of their culture, and then they sell them. And like, I have a pair of really cute earrings that have Native American chiefs on them. I bought them from native artists who made this for sale. So I feel better about it than if you go, if you like that page, they're always sharing things like, this runway for this fashion show and this brand took this print that is ours, and now they're making all kinds of money off of it. And that's my culture that you are now profiteering off of. And I think that's kind of what Shelby was saying. It's not so much that people inside, outside of hip-hop, you know that one is better or you don't know. It's this idea that they take something from a different culture and then, or they take something and then all of a sudden it's okay because they're a white person who's selling it. Because I think that's what happened with jazz too.
But my problem is, oftentimes your anger is misdirected because it's not Macklemore's fault that he won an award on hip hop. He wasn't trying to steal our culture when he made any of his music. You know what I mean?
Downtown.
But you know what I mean? He even made a song, White Privilege Part 2, where he talked about the fact that he got everything he got from hip hop culture, black culture. He wasn't. You're directing your anger at Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, and they are trying to embody everything that black people created in the best way possible. You know what I mean? Now the fact that this mainstream, the fact that Billboard recognized Macklemore because he's white over the artists that have been doing it and the people that he took the blueprint from and that have been doing it better than him, that's not Macklemore's fault. Just the same way as a white person who's wearing locks and trying to represent what they mean in African culture, and the mainstream media looks at them differently from a black person wearing locks, that's not the white person wearing locks' fault. It's the mainstream media's fault. So
but
for you to
Frustrating
stop... It's frustrating, but
it's also frustrating when Macklemore did write the song, but it's also frustrating when a lot of people are doing it and nobody's speaking out against it besides minority groups. But
if Macklemore himself is speaking out against it, if the white people wearing locks are speaking out against it, sorry,
we're almost out of memory. I only have 2 minutes left. Sorry. This is a great conversation yet again, though. Maybe it'll be an 18-parter. Anyway, thank you all for listening. You can check out more episodes at soundcloud.com/C.Y.N podcast or on iTunes. If you want, give us a rating and we'll read it on the air. We're on a lot of your favorite podcasting apps. You can email us with any feedback and info. Ideas, suggestions, all that good stuff. Can you not
comments,
podcast?
Opinions. Go listen to part 1.
Can you not podcast at gmail.com. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're not on Google Plus though, guys. Maybe we'll make that change. What did we learn today? I guess I learned that it's really hard when it comes to rioting. It's a really hard thing to know where to draw the line at, but I think I'm standing by as much nonviolence as possible, but I can definitely understand situations where why people do riot violently, I guess.
Allyship is a learning process.
Yeah, I was going to kind of say the same thing.
High five.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gotta know where to draw the line.
Very, very nice, very nice. So, with the studio audience, can you not?
Send help.